Welcome to the Main Character Podcast. I am your host, Brandon Hamblin, main character of my own story. But this podcast isn't about me. It's about you, and all of you. Every person that has ever lived on this planet, all 8 billion people here now, all that came before us, and all that will come hereafter are the main characters in their own story. My aim is to interview people that embody living in their energy and discovering from their perspective what their perception of reality is like. Buckle up. You're about to experience the world through another main character's eyes. I think I gave you a little bit of setup, right? We can go as wide as narrow, as deep as shallow as you want on anything. Mm-hmm. But really the point of the podcast is 8 billion people on this planet. Everybody's the main character. But everybody sees the world differently. And so how do you see it? How did you come to that conclusion? Why do you do life the way that you do life? Just in an effort to get people that listen to go, oh, the thing that I always thought was a 6 can also be viewed as a 9. That's really cool. So that's my hope in us diving into who Adriana is.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Okay. So with that being said, where do we start with Adriana? If somebody walked in and you were going to be like, this is who I am, how do you like to present yourself to the world?
Well, right now it's as a mental health therapist. I just opened the private practice here in Coeur d'Alene.
Very cool.
I've been doing telehealth and just about to go in person with an office come April is
nice.
Keep your fingers crossed on that one.
Do you have a space already like leased out?
Yep.
Cool.
Out of actually Dr. Renee, her same
space. In her space?
Yep.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh, fantastic. That is okay, cool. Yeah, that is an awesome space.
Yes. Yeah. So I am very excited about that. Very grateful to her for showing me around, and the landlord himself is very, very kind. And so I'm very excited.
Yeah.
About
bad landlord is not good.
Yeah. Yeah.
No. Or office mates. You don't want the next door
true.
neighbor to be loud and noisy, or, get off my lawn.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So I'm very excited about that. And so that's mainly how I would introduce myself right now is like I'm very much involved in my business. Networking is a big piece since I just opened up the practice. And just getting my name out there and building a community for myself. I've spent the last 3 years, half of my time in Montana working at a residential treatment facility.
Oh, cool.
And so that didn't allow me a lot of time to come and build a community in Coeur d'Alene, even though I've been here for the last 3 years. And so that was kind of a cool opportunity that I've had in the last 4 months is to start building this community. Yeah.
So we moved here December of 22, and that first year, like this area is gorgeous. I always call it the Garden of Eden. Like nobody knows they hid the Garden of Eden in North Idaho? What the heck? But this area is very relational. It is very 1-to-1 or 1 degree of separation. Everybody knows everybody. And so when you end up being the new person, it's how do you break in? How do you find your tribe? How do you find your community? And so, when you're splitting time, it makes sense that it's like, oh, now that I get, 4 months in of actually, I'm here. Let's make friends.
Yeah. So that's been absolutely great. And I've loved all of the connections. Even just joining ABC has been wonderful, meeting new people and in different fields. I even called Dane yesterday because I had a question about insurance.
Cool. So, not his improv.
No, not his improv, but the insurance side of things. And that was great. Like he just spent the time with me and asked for a follow-up. So I get to call him again today and follow up with him. And so that was really cool. Like just having that connection, you know people.
It is good. I think they call it the third place. Right. We have work, we have home. I think home's your first place. Work is your second place. And we used to have the bar or church or name the third place where you would meet other people. And those have really disappeared, especially since COVID. So a networking group. What are how else are you building community?
So my boyfriend is one of 10.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Where is he in the birth order?
He's 4th.
He's 4th. Okay. Middle child.
Yep.
And
so him and his family are well known. They have been wrestling for their whole entire lives. All of the kids.
Is a community.
Yep. And so just being a part of their family has been great. And
Are they here?
they're in Spokane. Yep.
Cool.
A majority of his family is in Spokane. And so that has been really cool just to like get to know that side of things.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, it mainly have been truly networking groups and reaching out to people on Facebook that are also in the therapy world.
Yeah.
And doing like one-on-ones outside of just normal sessions and things like that. And then building connections with people. I went to Dr. Renee's open house and I ended up meeting people in her community that we had connections in a weird way with residential treatment and with troubled teens. And this gal and I just started hitting it off and talking about like what she's done. And now she's a substitute teacher, but she still is part of like wanting to help the community of troubled teens. And so she's like, let's connect. And so it's just amazing. Like it's such a small world where you can connect with people on so many different levels.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah. And some things like I wouldn't, like a lot of people are not super happy with residential treatment, especially for teens since the documentary came out. But like educating yourself, like there are facilities that weren't great.
Oh yeah.
And so like hearing what her experience was working in like a group home and how helpful that can be, like that is super empowering to hear because there are super good benefits coming from all of those things. So
there's so many pieces in there that we're going to deep dive into because
Okay.
I'm just fascinated. Okay, so the therapy world to me is one of the things that I find fascinating is like if you need to get a therapist, good luck. And what I mean by that is there's not enough and there's so much demand.
Yep.
And there's so many different flavors of therapy and what you're getting therapy for.
Yep.
So educate me because I am layman. What is residential? What do you specialize in? Give me therapy 101 to
Okay.
master's degree in it.
Okay, I will do my best. Okay, so there is a couple different levels to therapy. So most intense is going to be residential. Well, you have like the psychiatric side where if someone's suicidal, they'll go into like the hospitalization piece.
Yep.
Okay. So that's like most intense.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily get a ton of therapy. It's more of stabilization in that realm.
Okay.
Step down from there is going to be residential.
Yep.
And so residential is where you are living at a facility full time. I can't speak too much to an adult residential facility, but as far as teens go, so we had teens there anywhere from 6 months to a year. And they do school, they do therapy, they do outdoor activities, you name it. There's a whole bunch of different things that go on. And then you have something that's called partial hospitalization.
Okay.
It's a step down where in the adult world, you will come and go from the facility. You're normally still living at the facility, but you get to go off campus.
Yeah.
And so you get AA or therapy group, or you can go off campus and do some AA meetings, things like that to reintegrate you back into society.
Okay.
And then from there's intensive outpatient, where you're living at home. You go in probably 3 to 4 times a week, and you're in groups mainly, and then you do some individual, and it's a lot of hours. It's a big time commitment. It's almost like having a full-time job. So if people find it very difficult when they're reintegrating to do IOP.
What's IOP?
Intensive outpatient.
Oh, got it.
Yeah,
okay.
sorry.
Yep.
And so so then finding like a job and doing intensive outpatient is just this like big dynamic between people. And then you have the last level, which is outpatient, which is kind of where private practice comes into play, or where you see a lot of people do more of like once a week or maybe twice a week kind of therapy. And that's more on the smaller scale of where people are just trying to stabilize their life and don't have huge swings going on with substance use, or if there's somebody with schizophrenia that needs stabilization, like you'll see less of that in outpatient than you would in like maybe an intensive outpatient program. Or
got it.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's so much. Oh, this is such a fascinating world, right? Again, I mean, it's kind of the point of this podcast is how's everybody seeing reality, and when people are schizophrenic or bipolar or substance abuse, or I mean, go down the depression, go down the list.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have done a deep dive from everybody from Freud to Carl Jung to all these different thought leaders that have said, well, this is why do people get to where they get, where they need help, where they can't do life?
My personal opinion
is
that people want to do things on their own.
Okay. Yep.
So as people, we need connection.
Yes.
We need our community behind us, whether that's just your family, if that's church, if that's people at the farmer's market, you name it, whatever your community is going to be. But a lot of people get stuck, and if they've grown up in an abusive childhood, they've had trauma in their life, whether that be a surgery or the loss of a family member, abuse, being in a toxic relationship, whatever that looks like, a lot of people end up having this mentality of like, I can't ask for help. I can't do these things. Because the only person I can count on is myself. And myself, I have that thought process even to this day, like a lot of us do. And so where we get stuck is like, now I'm not asking for help when I know I need it. Like I feel the water coming up and coming up and coming up, and now I'm trying to swim, but it's too high, and I don't have anybody. You can only
wade for so long before you drown.
Yep. And so somebody's got to come in with a bucket, right, and start like helping you, whatever that looks like, whatever help looks like to you, because help is different for every single person.
Right.
And so that's kind of my thought process on like people get to the point where they just didn't reach out.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing that you need. And I mean, you can go into all of the other little things, all the background stuff to it, but everything comes back down to connection and asking for help. Because if we're doing it all by ourselves, then we can make it. Like, no doubt we can make it, but it's going to be, we're going to just be treading water half the time too, and not enjoying life
treading,
to the fullest.
I said waiting earlier. Treading is the right word. Yeah. So my dad and my 3 brothers are addicts.
Okay.
And the brother that's third in line, I'm the oldest. He just, he relapsed after 7 years back in November. And he did the classic, nope, I've got a handle on it, I'll be fine. And realized that he had couldn't control it again. And so he just went into a 30-day treatment facility. And I've had this conversation with all of them. The piece I come back to, and I'm curious your take on this, is addiction to me is a form of escapism. There's something you haven't faced, something you haven't integrated, something that you're escaping from. And you found an answer in it could be a substance. We can find an addiction in anything, right? It could be food. It could be exercise. It could be whatever. All of a sudden you depend on that to cover up this other thing.
Yep.
It's addiction. So that's my take on it. I'm curious if yours is similar, if there's a piece there that I'm missing, or just another take on it. And do you think that that's something that can be, one of my big gripes with something like AA is you start the meeting with, hi, I'm so-and-so, I'm an addict. And you do it over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. And so you keep telling and reinforcing to yourself that you are an addict. Mm-hmm. So that's another piece that I find curious is I think fundamentally we want homeostasis. We want to be healthy, and we can get there.
Yeah.
But you have to do the work, which is where, to me, a therapist comes in,
mm-hmm.
right? You need that person with the bucket to help you go, okay, hold on, let's work through these things. Let's get the water to stop filling up. Okay, what did I hit? What did I miss? What else is there?
Yeah, no, I mean, you hit the nail on the head as far as substance or whatever you could have the addiction to. It's the solution to the problem.
It's a solution to the problem. Yep. Okay.
And so when you have something, and sometimes it's unknown, like something that could be traumatic to you couldn't have been traumatic to me. Like if I got into a car accident, I was like, yep, all good. But like for you, it could have been like,
I never want to get in a car again.
I never want to get in a car again.
Yep.
And so, so then how we cope is differently, right? Like maybe it is that you won't ever drive again, which I hope is not the case, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And that's
hard to do society if you don't drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where you go and you ask for help. And so with substances, they call it it's a disease.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so substance is actually where I got my specialty in my master's program. So it's something that I absolutely love. But it's a disease. And so what happens is that your brain chemistry changes. And
Right.
so there's this line when it comes to substances, is that it's a very thin line, and you can straddle this line for a temporary amount of time. But once you cross this line, like, that is now addiction. And you'll see like a lot of people that describe like, oh, I can have 1 or 2 drinks here and there, and then there's times where I just can't control it. Or you have like the functioning alcoholic that is able to go to work, do their daily tasks, be around their family, but in the evening they're having 5 drinks, whatever that looks like, or they're waiting until the weekend. Like, it doesn't even have to be daily. Like, you're just anticipating, like, that's where your thought process goes, is I'm waiting for that next time that I get to drink.
Yeah.
And that's when you're starting to cross the line. And then once you cross that line, it's very hard to get, well, you just can't come back from it.
Yeah.
It's not very hard. You just can't come back from it. That's when you go into sobriety and recovery.
Right.
And so, so then it goes back to the connection piece of now.
Totally.
I need somebody, and going to treatment or going to therapy, depending on where your problem is. And so when it comes to all of that, there's a balance, and we always have to have a balance.
Yes.
Regardless of if it's substance or eating or exercising or running, like all of anything.
Right.
And so, so yeah, and I forget what the second part of your question was.
Well, I was just curious your take on, so then it feels like in that instance, it is almost a cure. And I know I use that word, that's probably not the best word. And let me go back really quick. So you use the word disease for addiction. And I remember when my dad first said, well, I have a disease. I was like, a disease is like, you get, cold, cancer, something that you can't, and that was, this is totally wrong thinking, right? This is very early on in my life. Like, it's not a disease. It can't be a disease. Calling it a disease does a disservice to everybody that has an actual disease. And then when you think the word disease, we kind of blend that word together. It is dis-ease. It is not being in balance with what should be, with what should be, right? What should come easy. It has become dis-easy. And so that reframing really helped me a ton. And so right, it's getting, so not curing it, but getting back into balance.
Yeah. And I think there's a huge benefit, because if you catch it before that line.
Yeah. And so that's where, at any point, but that would be where the socialization and making sure that because people fundamentally want to feel seen and heard.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So we have these 5 senses primarily. These are the ones that we live in, right? This physical world that we're in, you got the 5 senses. One of the things that I just learned that I was like, okay, well, what does that say about this reality? Is there are no documented cases of anybody. Oh shoot, I'm going to screw it up. Anybody that was born blind developing schizophrenia. You're more likely to become schizophrenic if you develop blindness later in life. So I bring that up because we're doing the world, right? We're figuring life out. You're born, first 7 years of your life, you're in a theta state where you're a blank computer, where everybody's downloading you with their programming. This is how you do life, right? Yep. But you said it earlier, we want to do life our way. And so we're fighting against, that's right thing about teenagers. They're fighting against everything that they were programmed to do. But then you still end up, whether it's the religion you're raised in, the culture you're raised in, whatever it is, that's your foundation. That's your environment. That's how that's what you've adapted to. But you still have who you fundamentally are. And so you can this is where that weird line is you need the socialization, but are you socializing with people that are judging you and wanting you to maintain what their tribe wants, right? Or can you find a tribe that lets you be you? And then you get into morals and everything else and what is the right way. And it's just the way that we decide to do life is fascinating.
Yeah. No, it definitely is. And the things that we decide to do in that life based off of our experiences,
right,
is huge.
And then you throw in the traumas and you throw in everything else and you go, oh, you are a big pile of both baggage and experience and all the things. Let's unpack it.
Exactly.
And I take it that's so when the way that you practice therapy, when you meet with somebody, what does a meeting look like? How do you help?
A lot of it is dependent on what that person wants to work on that day.
Oh yeah.
So initially, like, you go through your background history, you talk about family history, all of those things. And then it really is just a kind of a go with the flow of what is that person struggling with this week. Maybe they woke up this morning feeling super stressed before their session. Well, let's unpack some of that. Or where do you think that's coming from? Or maybe there's an event happening this weekend and you're really unsure, you have really high anxiety around crowds of people, and you're going to a concert, but it's a concert that you really wanted to go to. So you're pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. So how do we unpack that? Whatever that looks like to somebody, there isn't like a true structure, right? Like people wake up every day feeling one way, or they are feeling down, or they're feeling happy, or maybe they're super excited about something. Like whatever you want to unpack that day, that's what you get to unpack, or whatever your week looks like. And so it's very fluid in that way. Don't get me wrong that there are times where you got to schedule some stuff and be prepared for some things, especially if you know that you're going to process trauma in a session, and just kind of mentally prepare yourself. And so with this training that I just got trained in, I am excited, and I prepped some clients like, hey, just start thinking about like what would be something that you would want to work on. And this modality isn't just for trauma. Like it could be a typical day. Like if you have to stand up and do a presentation in front of somebody, like, okay, let's process through that. And so that's kind of where you go with therapy. And so anxiety, trauma, PTSD, depression, I mean, and everything just overlaps. And so there isn't like, what people always ask, like, what's your niche? And I do have them, like, but like in our reality, like so many things overlap. Like people go through depressive episodes and they may not even know they're in a depressive episode, or they could have high anxiety, but it's just what has felt normal for so long.
Right. And
so once they start using coping skills or using tools to be able to diminish that anxiety, and they're like, wow, this is like what life feels like. And so, it's just very interesting. Like you see those things and light bulbs start clicking, and you're like, wow, yeah. And that's why I do it. Like I want to be able to help people.
That's so cool. Okay. So that is one of the key questions for me is why do you do it? And so I want to come back to that in a second. I want to just bookend what you just said. You hold space, and you probably ask powerful questions, and notice. The thing that I'm always curious about is trying to notice patterns, right? Like somebody says, oh, I've got this. And there's the surface level. Yes, I'm dealing with this, and this. But then there ends up being a root somewhere, right? And it's usually something that they don't notice because they can't see the forest for the trees, right? And you as the therapist are, okay, hold on, there's a whole forest. Let's look at that. And I love adding the different modalities because it could be, you do equestrian, right? And so we'll dive into that in a second. The number one fear of most people, or the most common fear, is public speaking, right? And so that could be one of the things that somebody could learn is breathe. Right. And like that's something that you come out of the womb knowing how to do. And yet when you're about to go face something that is a very common fear, we all forget, just breathe. Right. Or different coping mechanisms, right? There's so many different little things that you can teach people that just as soon as you bring it to their awareness, oh yeah, I do have that tool. Oh, I can use that thing. Oh, I just need to remember to do this.
And a lot of it is practice. Like
practice.
When you're, even if you like were sitting at home and you knew that you were going to give a speech, like practice breathing before you give the speech in the mirror to yourself, so that it's already like ingrained in your head of like, okay, before I'm going to go do the speech, breathe.
Right.
And it's just practice. And that's the thing that gets forgotten a lot is like, I have all these tools in my toolbox. That's great.
Right.
But do you practice them?
Right.
Yeah. But if I don't, then they're not going to be second nature to start using when I'm in a crisis or when I'm feeling like my anxiety is higher. And so you got to practice.
Right. Well, or you get stuck on one tool, right? You think, I have a hammer. Everything looks like a nail. Here we go. Oh, wait, you have a wrench and you have a screwdriver and you have go down the list,
Yep.
you have a whole flipping toolbox.
Yep.
Not everything's a nail.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because not all coping skills are equal.
Right. Yeah, totally. Or
Yeah.
appropriate in
Yep.
that situation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so let's touch on the equestrian piece, and then we're going to get into why do you do what you do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. So I do equine therapy so I have a separate business that I do equine therapy with,
Cool.
Still mental health. I have a business partner that I do that one with, and he's the equine specialist. And so he knows all the things about horses. I know the basics. But
they're big, 4 legs,
Yep.
hairy,
Yep,
mane.
exactly. But he gets to concentrate on kind of like the behavior of the horse, making sure there's safety there. And then him and I collaborate on the side of like, okay, now what are we going to do with this client, and how is the horse going to be a resource for them? So horses have really big hearts, and
Yes.
so they can feel anything that we're feeling, and they almost like internalize it and then bring it out so you don't feel it as much.
Cool.
Which is truly just amazing. And so if you can learn how to regulate yourself just enough to be able to be around the horse, they can pull pretty much all of that out of you.
Isn't that amazing?
It's amazing. Yes. And there's just such a beauty that comes with it, especially with people that don't love doing traditional talk therapy. Because the horse gets to be the therapist. So I'm truly just there to maybe ask some questions. They don't necessarily have to respond to the questions or to challenge them in certain ways. And the horse gets to be this therapist where the people get to engage with them. They get to groom them. They get to do an activity. Maybe it's an obstacle course, whatever we decide to do that day. Again, you ask the client what they would like to work on.
Yeah.
And you just see these people leave, and it's like this sense of relief. Like I just got to spend some time with myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and again, what does that say about the way that energy works?
Mhm.
And because it's not a human that you can talk with, right?
Yep.
Talk something out. But
Yep.
that horse, you literally have an energy transference.
Yep.
How?
Yeah.
You get in, I mean, that gets into some deep science and just like philosophy and spiritualism and all sorts of stuff, because we still have no scientific explanation for consciousness.
Yeah.
How are you here?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And then you're interacting with different animals, I name a thing. You can go have a session with a tree.
Yep.
Right. I mean, it's a living object. You're going to have an energy transference sitting
Yep.
under a tree and just meditating.
Yep.
A horse is a pack animal. The way that they do life with each other, that's amazing. So it totally makes sense that you would go and interact with them, and they would want to pull and empathize and all the feelings.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
It is very cool.
So this is a subset of the bigger question. What drew you specifically to the equine piece?
So I'm like my role with it.
Well, yeah, out of all the different modalities, things you could have done, why?
Oh, why equine?
Yeah, did you experience that? And you're like, oh, I got to bring this to the world, or?
No. So I've always loved horses. I always thought it was going to be something that was a part of my life. I didn't grow up really around horses. I took a couple horse riding lessons in high school, middle school. And then in the last, 5 years or so, I've been around horses again. But I always thought it was so cool how people can find help without having to talk.
Yeah.
And my goal with the equine side of things and my business partner as well was to give back to first responders, veterans, active military specifically. Obviously open the doors to anybody, but that was a big community that we wanted to break through, that talk therapy isn't something that they feel comfortable with, something that they want to like talk about the trauma that they've experienced, something that they can go in and just be at peace, like in a quiet area with an animal that maybe they spook, maybe they don't, but they've got people there to be able to be a resource to. And so, so that was one of the biggest things of why we chose equine therapy.
Yeah.
Is to help that community specifically.
Cool. Well, yeah, first responders, veterans, that whole gamut of, they have the greatest rate of suicide.
Yep.
Right. Of depression, of PTSD,
Mm-hmm.
all those things. I went down, which seems totally contradictory, right? With all the addiction in my family. I went down to the, what's the term? Psychedelics conference down in Denver a couple summers ago. There was 15,000 people. I was like, it's going to be a bunch of hippies. No, it was at least 50%, probably closer to 70% doctors, therapists, other people that are like, okay, so yeah, you want to talk about cocaine, heroin, meth, that stuff's crazy. But you get something like Ibogaine. Oh my gosh. You aren't going to abuse that. Like, nobody has a fun Ibogaine experience. You don't do it because it's fun. But the amount of work that people get done, I've heard so many crazy stories from veterans that are like, nope, I became an alcoholic. I was all these things, terrible nightmares. My wife didn't want to be around me. I went down, had an Ibogaine session, and whoa, totally different person.
Yeah.
And so again, I'm totally rabbit holing on
a
weird thing. Is that anything that you've looked at or explored?
No. So I know there's a benefit to the psychedelics. I know that people have had great experiences with it. It is not something that I'm well versed in.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I have not gone down a rabbit hole with that side of things.
Yeah. I think that's why I do a podcast, because I listen to way too many podcasts, and I'm just like, I'm grabbing information from the width and breadth of everything. Like, okay, well, that's again, modalities, right? Yep. Oh, that one's interesting. That one's interesting. The gal that I just had on before you, she does quantum hypnosis.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
There's, Selena in our group, she does massage therapy. There, people have some crazy releases.
Yep.
Through massage therapy.
Yep.
Right. Like, again, to me, there's never any just one answer. It's not even a tool chest. You've got a whole flipping garage full of stuff, a whole mansion full of things that you can do.
Yeah.
Okay. So to the question, why do you do what you do?
Why do I do what I do is a multifaceted question.
Yeah. I have a feeling.
So I have family members that were using substances, or we had the suspicion that we're using substances. Wow. And kind of the impact that it led on the family, the unknownness of where they were, what was going on, what their mood was going to be like, all of the things that came with it. And that was super interesting to me, because I was like, I want to be able to help people.
Right.
And so I started my career in substance use at a facility in Spokane Valley. And then I was like, well, the only thing I can do here is substance use. So when you have your addiction license, or LAC, the only thing you can practice is the only thing you can practice is with somebody that has an addiction or has that diagnosis. Well, I wanted to help people before they got to that point.
Yeah.
And so, or if they get to that point, I still want to help them. But I wanted to be able to get to the point where, like, if there's a teenager that's struggling with anxiety and depression, they started experimenting with substances, like, let's see if we can nip that in the butt before it becomes something that escalates into something bigger.
Right.
And it's normal, right? Like, we all are going to experiment with something in our life. But where does it cross that line again of, is it going to be a solution to the problem? You hear a lot of people with anxiety that use marijuana or alcohol. And the interesting thing is that the research shows that when you're not using it, your anxiety is so much higher because you're just waiting for it.
Oh, yeah.
And so it numbs you, but your anxiety actually isn't decreased at all.
Right.
And so
it's just shifted.
Yep. Exactly. Yep.
Yep. You're still carrying the weight. You just decided to move it a little bit.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. And so, so I wanted to be able to come in and help people process what was going on. They always say that therapists are some of the people that have had things go on in their life.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time they get into therapy is because they want to figure out what's going on with themselves too. And so, I would say that would ring true too. Like, I've had my struggles in life like everybody else.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to be able to be somebody that somebody else could lean on and reach out to when I had that same support as well, and have people, I don't know that there are people out there, there's a support out there, and to be able to help family members of people that have family that is addicted to a substance, or how do you help manage that? How do you create a safe environment? How do you communicate effectively with each other to be able to know that even though defenses come up, like, how do you still communicate and love each other without enabling, without getting defensive, without doing all of the things? And so that was a big piece, is that I just wanted to be somebody to be able to connect with and feel like they're safe. Yeah.
That's a great line. I love that. It's funny because there's that saying, hurt people,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
But man, the opposite is true. Hurt people want to help people.
Yep.
Right. But that also means that you need to heal so you're no longer the hurt person.
Yep.
Right. And I think a lot of that, and probably what makes you an effective therapist, is I take it you don't have a lot of judgment in the way that you do life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you do, right, as soon as somebody says, I'm doing this, if you're going, well, that's stupid.
I have my moments, don't get me wrong.
There's definitely, that wasn't a wise choice. Why did you choose that again? But again, to me, that comes back to, we have all of these different belief systems and all this. If you aren't doing it this way, then you're going to be doing it wrong. Yeah. Like, okay, if there was one answer, we would have locked onto that and everybody would be drinking that Kool-Aid. Yep. Right?
Yeah.
Seems to me like there probably isn't one answer.
Yeah. And if there was one answer, we'd live a really boring life because everybody would be living the same life.
Isn't that true?
Yeah.
There was a reason I was bringing that up. I was on a really good train there, and then it just like stopped. It's like, nope, sorry, we're not going there. Why are we not going there, brain? Hurt people. There's something. It'll come back to me. Shoot. No, it was a good point. It was a connecting point. I need it to come back.
You talked about hurt people that also want to help people. She hasn't processed.
Oh, the judgment piece.
Okay. Yes.
And so, I'm just going to totally flip it. Okay. It'll come back, man. Yeah. Okay. So, neural pathways, right? That's, that I got something going on in my brain that's like, no, that path is not there. Sorry. That is fascinating how we get so ingrained with our, right? Like you talk about the like actual physical aspect of it. Yeah. You get ingrained with neural pathways saying, this is the way, this is the way, this is the way.
Yep.
And so how do you rewire the brain? Because fundamentally, I mean, that is what it is, right?
Yep.
Oh gosh, that took me so off track. Stupid. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's see here. So where were we? Well, we're gonna circle back. Okay. I'm gonna let you talk while my brain functions.
Okay. Well,
tell me something.
Okay. Well, let's go down the neuropathways conversation.
Let's go down the neuropathways conversation.
So the more we rely on something, right? If you were to look at substances, defense mechanism, coping skills, whatever that was, like you're creating this pathway in your brain of like, XYZ happens, this is what I do.
Yep.
A lot of the times where we go with that is that we go in the defensive route. We use unhealthy coping skills. We use substances. We use anger, whatever that emotion that's going to come in. And so, so when we're looking at all of those things, if you were to take somebody that you just got into an argument with your significant other.
Right.
Right. And the challenge is you want to go into that defense. Maybe it's the anger, maybe it's avoidant, maybe it's whatever it is, sadness. You start crying because you just don't know what to do. How do you rewire? And it's always uncomfortability is where you grow.
Oh, yeah.
And so you've got to do the things that make you feel uncomfortable
to be able to.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. To rewire that pathway.
Yeah.
And so, like if I was to take my experience up at the residential facility that I worked at, we had a lot of kids that came in with several different diagnoses, different issues that were going on. But the main thing is that you're going to experience, you're in the secure environment, right? Like you don't have as much exposure. The substances aren't around. Don't get me wrong. They're still like, these teenagers nowadays are so sneaky and so smart.
They will find a way.
Yep. Yeah. And so like, you look at all these things, but we take the kids, and I say we because I still work for them part-time, so I'm still including myself on the team. But like we take the kids up to Schweitzer, we take the kids up to to go camping, wherever it is, right? Like, so they get the experience of like what life is still like, but how do we manage life around all of these people?
Right.
And so that's sometimes uncomfortable because they get so comfortable to being at the facility where it's safe and where they know what's going to happen on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
And so there's no pathways, get an opportunity to change. Same at the facility though, too, because staff comes in, and as much as you want to try to compartmentalize life and work,
right.
There's sometimes we come in, and I'm guilty of it as well. Like I come in and I'm in a bad mood and I have to check myself. Right.
Yep.
And so that's an opportunity where the kid gets to experience like this person that's always here for me, or is I have this good connection with, like, she's off today.
Yep.
And so how do I manage that? Like, do I just get angry and I'm like, now I'm going to avoid her for the rest of the time that she's up here? Or do I have a conversation? And as the adult, you want to go in and you want to model what it is. So if I can recognize that I'm in a bad mood that day, I used to call it out to my clients like, hey, I'm really tired. And just so you know, so if I'm a little more blunt than I usually am, then by all means, feel free to just let me know. But like, just so you're aware, like, this is where I'm sitting at today.
Yeah.
Because we're all human.
Totally.
And so for them, that's also like a change in our pathway. Like, this adult is being honest with me about where they are sitting at in their life right now.
Yeah.
Or if something's going on. And obviously you don't share everything, but like, you know, you share the things that are going on and what you're feeling. And it also models for them of like, it's okay to feel these things.
Yes.
And so then their brain starts changing, and anybody's brain, it's not just teenagers, but like anybody's brain starts changing. Like, it's okay to talk about these things. It's okay to say like, I'm angry today and I don't know why I'm angry today, but I know that I'm angry today. I can feel it.
Right.
And so,
and sometimes, and a lot of the time we don't know why, right? Like, I'm feeling this feeling and I just got to let you know, and I'm processing, and here it is, but it's there.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the communication piece. Goodness, if we communicated better.
Well, and again, and that goes back to the judgment piece, right? People are afraid to communicate because they're afraid of getting judged.
Yep.
And that was the point that Mike brought up on our pod, was how I asked him, when you were an officer down in Orange County, what did you notice about the kids that ended up okay, right? Coming out of whatever the thing was, or going down a path that was bad? He goes, the ones that felt like they could talk to their parents or whoever their people were, as soon as they felt like they needed to hide or not share, and then it just snowballs and it gets worse and worse. And then they do. And people are going to be attracted to whatever's going to bring them alive, right?
Yep.
Whatever the life source is. And so why do people join gangs? Because they found acceptance.
Yep.
I mean, that's right there. It might not be, obviously not good stuff that they're doing.
Yep.
But they found people that accept them, and they create that tribe, that family, whatever it is.
Yep.
And when you don't feel like you can go to mom and dad, you don't think you can go to your significant other, you can't, all these things, you're going to find other people, you're going to find a substance, or you're going to be totally out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is amazing to me how social we are. You can punish a psychopath by putting them in isolation, right? Like, what? They're already crazy. You can make them crazier by cutting them off from other people. That's crazy.
Yeah. It is crazy. But it goes back to the connection piece. Like,
it goes back to the connection piece.
We need connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the judgment piece is, well, and I figured out why my brain went off, because I rabbit holed to make my point. You said it would be boring. I can't remember exactly what we were referencing, but you were like, if it was always that way, it would be boring. Right. So, I think we all want joy and happiness, and I mean, name the good feeling. We want that all the time.
Yeah.
Understandably.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
No.
Right. And what I've been toying with lately is everything's binary. Right. So ones and zeros, ones and zeros, ones and zeros. If you just had ones, you're not coding anything. Good luck. Doesn't make any sense. If you just have zeros, same thing. Doesn't work.
Yep.
And you can apply that to light and dark. You can apply that to good and bad. You can apply that to masculine and feminine.
Yep.
You can apply, like, name the things that you would think would be at odds, but they define each other.
Yep. And
so being able to experience both and not shun it, not judge it, is also a key. So you are in a bad mood, you whatever, name the reason why, or you got cut off in traffic, or your dog ate from the kitty litter, or like
Yep.
we were talking about, like, name the thing that throws your day off. And okay, well, I always have kind of in the back of my head, well, what if that you getting cut off, made you slow down, and you were actually going to get T-boned up ahead, and you have no idea.
Yeah.
Maybe that was the greatest blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
How about you just go with the flow, because you're going to go up and down. You're going to experience it all, and to judge and say, nope, that was bad. Nope, that shouldn't have happened. Nope.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay. I mean, you can then you're in that vibe. That's not.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Yep. Yeah. It's a perspective thing. So like,
it's totally a perspective thing.
I'm from California. I used to be a California
you just
driver.
Admitted that in North Idaho.
I know,
gosh.
I did.
Torch and pitchforks. Is that what I see in the distance? Sorry.
No, I'm cautious to say that, but I love California. Don't love all of the people, which is also why I moved out. And
California is probably the most gorgeous state in the
Yes.
union, and oh man, yeah.
I could go off about California all the time, but to get to my point of like, so in California, everybody talks about California drivers and how rude they are, myself included.
I think everybody talks about their drivers everywhere, but California is exceptionally, it's crowded.
Yeah, it is crowded.
Yeah.
So you got to make quick moves. People don't use their blinkers, and you could hear complaints about that here up in North Idaho.
Yeah,
that California is moving.
Yeah.
Well, when I first moved to Idaho, I was that driver, and I was like, okay,
yeah.
And I had a friend from Idaho that I had made in college, and she goes, "Why are you driving like this?" Like I thought everybody was driving so slow. And granted, I was in Moscow, where like there's maybe 5 cars on the road at a time, like not super crazy. And I'm over here like driving 5 over the speed limit all the time, or if not more,
and making quick decisions.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Decisive. You're a decisive driver.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was a very nice way to put it. Yeah. And so why was I bringing all this up? Oh, anyway, so as I started moving to the Coeur d'Alene area and doing all of the things, I was like, why am I driving so fast? Like a different perspective, right? Like,
yeah,
everybody else is at a slower pace of life. Like I moved out here for a slower pace of life. I moved out here to be calm and not be so stressed out, even just to drive. And somebody once told me, like, those people that are driving rudely, for lack of a better word, like, who knows what's going on? Like, maybe they're trying to get to the emergency room, and you're like, now I'm being the asshole that is like blocking them because I want to be an asshole.
Right.
And so that gave me a different perspective. And I just started looking at life with a whole different perspective of like, we don't know where people are coming from that day or what's going on in their life. And we're making an assumption sitting here saying like, oh, they're just being an asshole because they're trying to get around me, whatever the case is. But in all that, am I being the asshole?
Right. That's, you and I drive very similarly. And coming from Western Washington, where they have the worst drivers on the planet, so California doesn't get that badge. It was like, to me, it was the infamous, if they're in a Subaru or a Prius, they're going to drive me nuts. They're going 5 or 10 under, and they're in the fast lane, and they're not paying attention.
Yep.
But then I remember, there's the classic, you're driving your baby home from the hospital for the first time. Yep. Or for us, it was driving my son to and from cancer treatment. It's like, you have no idea what's going on in anybody else's world. Yeah. And how about you just coexist?
Yeah.
Right? Give some grace.
Yep.
And realize that you aren't the only person in the world.
Yep.
You are the main character in your story. That doesn't mean you're the only player on this planet.
Yep.
Right? Everybody is the main character.
Yep.
So yeah, it was a good perspective shift for me of, there's times now, because I was like, get to point A, from point A to point B. Yep. As quickly as possible, as legally as possible. And like, that's why you're in the car. What are you doing? Why are you guys doing? Oh, you can just kind of like vibe.
Yeah.
You can slow down. You can smell the roses. Yeah. This is kind of nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes a huge difference. I know my motivational moment in EBC.
Yeah.
I was not motivational at all, but
remind me what it was.
It was, if you had a bad moment, or if your whole day was bad, pretty much was the concept of it. So like, if the guy cut you off in traffic, right? Now is your whole day bad, or was it just like this moment? Like, change your perspective, right? Like, you need to be able to separate the fact that some guy cut you off on the road And not that your whole day is now going to be awful and just this thing that you're now going to create because you're in control of how you react to that situation. And so like that also comes with the perspective thing. Like if you can step back from being the main character for the moment, right? And just say, okay, what could this other person be going through?
Right.
How can I be, without even knowing it, like you could be somebody that gets over and that person wasn't even paying attention because they were zoned out thinking about something that was going on in their life. Like you might have just been somebody that they just got to get to the hospital that much quicker,
right?
Whatever that looks like. And so if you can step back and look at things, it's going to change how you deal with people, how you look at yourself and how you deal with yourself and what you are in control of.
Right.
And that will make a huge difference in anybody's world. Difference.
Well, and because we get to choose our reality, you wake up and you forgot to grab toilet paper the night before, so you don't have any toilet paper. Mm-hmm. Of course. No. And then on your way to get the toilet paper, you stub your toe. Oh, this day's going to suck.
Yeah.
Right. And then your kid's not ready to go to school. Of course they're late. Right. And you pretty soon you are reinforcing. Today's going to suck.
Yep.
And guess what?
It's going to suck.
Today's going to suck.
Yeah.
Right. And this is where I always remind myself that the absolute only thing that you have is the present.
Mm-hmm.
The past, those are memories that you aren't changing in any of it.
Yeah.
But it happened before you get to choose right now.
Yeah.
Anything. And whatever you think is going to happen 10 minutes from now, 10 days from now, 10 years from now, projections.
Yep.
You have no flipping idea what's going to change between now and then. That's going to make what you were worrying about didn't even come close to happening.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, that anxiety piece is wild.
Yeah, I was just about to say,
you're worrying
that's
about
all anxiety.
Yeah, you're fighting a war that's never going to happen.
Yep. Yeah.
So be present.
Yep.
That's a constant reminder that I have for myself and my clients is just be present.
Yeah. Yeah, it is an important tool to be able to recognize, and that's where the grounding techniques come into play.
Yeah.
Right? Like you look at your 5 senses. What can you smell? What can you touch? What can you hear? What can you taste? And what can you see? Right? Like ground yourself to the present moment. If you feel like you're going to the future, if you feel like you're going to the past, whatever it is, like just ground yourself into this present moment.
Yeah. That's really good. That is one of my favorite tools in the toolkit.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah. So maybe let's rapid fire on those. What are some other ones that you either give out regularly to your clients or ones that are your personal favorites?
Breathing is a huge one.
Yeah.
It's very underestimated, I guess is the right word.
Yeah.
Because like you said, like you know how to breathe. Like you come out of the womb knowing how to breathe. Yeah. But you tell somebody in the middle of a crisis, just breathe. And they're like, they just give you that look shut
I want to slap you right now.
Yeah. And you're like, okay. But truly, like the best thing to do, if that's ever the case, is don't actually tell the person to breathe. You just start breathing that way.
Yeah.
And they'll catch with you.
Yep.
And you'll synchronize. So that's one of the biggest things. Because we need oxygen to the brain to be able to like slow everything down, regulate all of the things that are going on within our body. So I would say my top one is breathing, as simple as that sounds. Grounding techniques are amazing.
Yeah.
They allow us to get back into the present moment versus our brain like not being able to comprehend what is going around us when we're in a crisis. And then you have the other ones that come into play that are different for every single person. You've got journaling for the people that love to write and that are overthinkers, that they tend to fall more into the journaling category. And then there's other people that journaling is like the worst thing they could possibly be doing.
Torture.
Yeah, exactly. And so by all means, like you got to figure out what's going to be good for you. You got music. A lot of teenagers look for music. Even adults look for music. Like what is something that they can just kind of zone out with? Audiobooks now, audiobooks have been around for a real long time, but now that they're even more accessible, like you can drive with them, like instead of just like pondering it after work, like all of the things that just happened, like you can kind of just zone out and allow yourself. The other thing, also going to sound really dumb, but self-care. The amount of people that do not do self-care is crazy because we get so wrapped up in the things that we're doing from a day-to-day basis, right? Like you got to wake up, you got to get yourself ready, you got to get the kids ready, you got to get work ready, whatever it is that you need to get done throughout your day. And then at the end of the day, you're just so exhausted, you didn't even create any time for yourself.
No.
And so the people that go to the gym in the morning, like that is great. That is fantastic. Or the people that go on a walk, or even just having like a skincare routine, like waking up and just washing your face in the morning. And like that sometimes can just be enough to get you to a point of like, I just did that for myself. That was for me.
Yeah.
And whatever that looks like, that can be different for every single person. But it is a huge key component. And then other coping skills, gosh, there's so many.
There's so
Phoning
many.
a friend.
Oh yeah.
That is a huge one.
Yeah.
I will say that, and I think we talked about this a little bit earlier on too, that like if you sit too much in your yuck, then it's not good.
No.
And that's why therapy is like once a week, right? Like you really only be talking about your stuff at a minimal, because then if you're just sitting in your yuck all of the time,
you're reinforcing
it. Yep. Yeah. And you're going to sit there for longer and longer, and it's just going to get worse. And so if you can talk about what's going on, or even just address what's going on, that's going to make a huge difference in your life versus just like sitting with it. I have my own experience with my friends and family and things like that. But I used to be the person that I just didn't say anything. Like I never asked for help. I was telling my dad this the other day. I go, I have this weird mentality of like anything I own, but like I'm not married. I'm in a relationship, but not married. So you never know what's going to happen in life, right?
Right.
And moving from college, from California to Minnesota and all of the things, my thought process is I don't own any furniture that I personally cannot move myself.
Oh, okay.
And
all right.
He was like, what? And I was like, well, what if somebody's not around to help me? Like when I was in Minnesota, I was by myself.
Right.
And luckily I had one of my really good friends. She flew out and helped me move, which was fantastic.
Oh, that's great.
But like initially, like all of those things, like if she hadn't flown out, who was going to help me move that furniture? I didn't know anybody in Minnesota very well. And so that was always like my thought process of like, I'm going to make sure I take care of myself, but I'm not necessarily asking for help. I could have asked people in my cohort to help
I was going to say, if you ever need help moving, I'm happy to help you move.
Thank
Yeah,
you. I appreciate it.
Add me to the list.
I appreciate it. But no, that was my thought process. Like I still struggle with that. There's times that I don't want to ask for help. And those are the times where I really am like, I need to ask for help.
Totally.
Like, that is not something that I'm probably capable of handling on a smaller scale, but if it's something bigger, then it's okay. Like it is okay. To ask for help.
Well, and I don't know if this is where that's coming from, but I always have I don't want to put other people out.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And yet we need to socialize.
Yep.
We want to help other people.
Yeah.
Right. How many people are like, yes, I would absolutely help you do that thing. Just ask.
Yep.
Well, I don't want to ask.
Yeah.
I don't want to put you out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And it's round and round and round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you have the people that will say no. Like you have your people that will say no to you, right?
Yeah.
Like, but don't let that be the deterrent to asking for help from somebody else.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. People get shut down and that's like, oh, I'm never asking for help again.
Right.
No, we got to.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Going back, I like the self-care one.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I went down a whole different section.
No. And I love that. I love it. Well, because there's so many things about how we keep ourselves healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And so like you said, it could be the working out stuff in the morning. It could be the skincare routine. It could be we need so many different things to stay healthy, right? So it's good diet. It is working out, right? Moving your body. Your body is designed to move.
Yep.
Us sitting in a chair at our desk for 8 hours a day.
Yep.
Under terrible lighting,
yeah.
Right? You need sunshine. You need all these different things, and that can get overwhelming, right? And then we live in a culture where it is go. We don't do siestas. We should do siestas in the U.S. Right? Take that little break in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
Is it okay to nap? No. Should have done that when I was a kid, I guess. And so sometimes culture beats you into, well, I'll reward myself. If I do this and this and this and this, then I can finally do something for me. I have to earn it. No.
Yeah.
You aren't gonna, no, just go. You live, you've earned it. Go do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you look at that in like diet culture, right? Like if I can lose this amount of weight, then I can do this, or I can have that piece of cake.
Yeah.
And in all reality, like there's a balance. Like we have to have balance. And I had a supervisor once, and I ring true with what he said, because he was like, stand up. And I was like, okay. And he was like, put your arm out, lift up your leg, do this. And then he just like touched me, and I lost my balance. Right?
Yeah.
He was like, balance is not like, you can't get balance. Like you have all of these moving pieces in your life. How are you supposed to balance everything? And so he hated the word balance. And to be fair, it rings true. Like, how do you find balance with all of these things that are moving out in our world when it comes to health, it comes to work, it comes to our personal lives, our family, there's just so many different things. And so we use this word balance all the time, and I am guilty of still using it, but it made sense of everything he was saying too, is like, okay, we're finding a balance, but what does that balance look like?
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and it's going to be different for everybody.
Yep.
Right. And that's where I think something like intuition, right? You know, your body, your soul, your consciousness, your everything is screaming at you, hey, we need this thing.
Yeah.
Stop ignoring me.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's when we have our crashes, like our immune health goes down.
Yeah.
We get sick, or we get migraines or headaches, whatever it is that somebody, like, we're not listening to our bodies anymore.
We're in a state of disease.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
So I feel like we could go on like 50 different things on this. Are there other key things in this realm that you want to touch on, or
as far as like coping skills go?
Coping skills, therapy, socialization. I mean, any of this world that we're playing in.
Gosh, we really could go a whole bunch of different ways, but I'll let you defer to it if you want to keep talking about that. I could talk about therapy all day long, because I think it's so fascinating.
I do too.
I love people in their brains and how everybody is different.
Yes.
Yeah. So I could go on about it all day, but I will defer to you if.
Well, okay. So maybe let's go. I have two things that are rolling around in my head. The first one, and this should be a quick one, I think, maybe.
Okay.
Going back to the addict piece. You said you wanted to help people, right? Mm-hmm. Once you've experienced something, or you just love on people, you want to help them. I wanted to do anything and everything to help my dad and my brothers, and did anything and everything to help my dad and my brothers. And then at some point I realized I can't do it for them.
Yeah.
And the way that I have verbalized that so easily is, you can't catch somebody when they're falling, because you will get crushed. But when they are wanting to lift themselves up, you can certainly help them up and walk with them.
Yeah.
And I feel like that might not be the best way to say that. And so I'm curious, right? You put it beautifully. You want to help people before they get to the point where they're addicts, or have crossed that line. Am I wrong in thinking that way, or is there a better way to think of, you can't catch them when they're falling?
No, I don't think you're wrong, because we can't control other people.
Right.
Right. And so.
And you can't do it for them.
Yeah. And you can't do it for them. They're going to want, and especially with addicts and people that use substances that are addicted, it's a big thing when you have somebody, and I'm going to backtrack a little bit. So a lot of the times, as family members or friends that we see that somebody is struggling, we want to go in and help. And sometimes we become the enabler. Yep. Been there, done that. And the struggle is how do we step back and set boundaries for ourselves?
Oh yeah. Healthy boundaries.
Yep. Healthy boundaries that are going to protect us, but we can still help somebody else.
Right.
And so when you have somebody that is struggling, the way you can look at things is, there was somebody, I'm trying to remember who it was, but somebody I met once said, it's not a hand out, it's a hand up.
Yeah. Yep.
And that always stuck with me. I was like, yeah, I really like that. Like we want to be able to help somebody up. Brene Brown also talks about, with one of her videos, and I'm blanking obviously on the name now because I'm right here. But she has the analogy of like, it's about empathy and sympathy, right? And so she talks about going down into this deep, dark hole and not saying, well, at least you're not doing this, right?
Right.
But like being like, I can put that hat on of, I remember a time when I was feeling sad, or I remember a time when I was feeling this. And so that empathy goes a huge way when it comes to thinking about the thought process of where people are coming from when they're struggling.
Yeah.
And so I guess to answer your question, no, I don't think it's wrong in that thought process, but I think the most important key is empathy and boundaries.
Yeah.
And making sure that there is not a crossover of, I'm doing all of these things and I'm wanting to help them more than they're wanting to help themselves.
Yep. Yeah. That's well said.
And that rings true for anybody, be not just people with substances. Like I used to tell my clients that all the time, is like, sometimes I feel like I'm working harder than you. Like I want you to get better. And in all reality, and then I was like, I had so much more invested in what their future at that moment was looking like, or that present moment, than they were. And I just had to step back and like meet them right where they were at.
Yep.
But I had to have that communication with them of like, okay, do you want to get better? Do you want to like make progress? Because I'll help you. I'll be this hand up for you. But I need you to be able to communicate with me right where you're at.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
So I don't actually know if I answered your question or
no,
not.
You did.
Okay.
And added on some beautiful pieces to it too. Those are all great points. Yeah, because and setting healthy boundaries is a really, can be for some people, it is for me, a really hard lesson to learn.
Yeah. Yeah. It is for most people.
Yeah.
Until you start figuring it out, or you have a situation where you need to like actually set healthy boundaries.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know what boundaries look like. Like, that's a huge thing.
Yeah. My wife and one of her sisters, particular sister would like drop her kids off at our house and be like, yeah, I'll pick them up at 5. And then you never, like, no communication. Next thing you know, it's 8:00.
Yeah.
Where is she? What's going on?
Yeah.
So my wife got to the point where she goes, I'm just not, I can't watch your kids.
Yeah.
Well, why not? I need help.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, there's so many different variations on that theme, but then that's the one that drives me crazy is where you are trying to help. And if you don't help, then they look at you like the bad guy. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, well, wait, hold on. I still love this person and I want to help this person.
Yeah.
But I have to, and actually for them, I need to set this boundary.
Yeah.
Otherwise they're just walking all over me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes that's what they need.
And sometimes, but it's, I cut my dad off for a year. Didn't talk to him. Said, you're taking advantage of every time I try and help. Yeah. And I cannot have you in my life right now.
Yep.
And that's when it's hard, is when it's somebody that you really care about.
Yep.
Somebody that you love and you want the best for.
Yep.
And you want them in your life, but you can't.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It is hard.
Yeah.
And those are, family is by far the toughest thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Setting those boundaries, setting the separation is a big one. And a lot of people have a hard time because it's the fear of the unknown too, of like, what is going to happen when I'm not in contact with them for this X amount of time, and what's like all of those things. And so then, but the boundary is there to protect yourself, because you know that relationship at that time is not going to be healthy for either one of you.
Right.
And so that's where you go in and process, and you talk about it in therapy too.
Yeah.
so yeah, and it's huge, but it makes a huge difference, because sometimes what it does is it opens the eye up to the other person of like, okay, he's taking this big step back. Like in your case, like cutting off contact with your dad, like hopefully that was a realization for your dad too, of my son feels like this is not a healthy relationship right now.
Right. Yeah.
So what is going on within me? And maybe he didn't have that realization at that time, but hopefully he was able to get to a realization of like, what is going on with me that like now people are starting to separate from me.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that one was interesting because, at least for me, the fear was, okay, if I do this and I end up getting a call, hey, we just found your daddy's dead. Mm-hmm. Then I was thinking, I'm going to have all this guilt. Yep. If I hadn't have cut him off, maybe he would have, if I had picked up the phone that one time, maybe that's when he decided to go use. Yep. And if I had been available, right? Like it's that whole future projection, living in a place that You have the anxiety, all that stuff. You have no idea that that's actually going to happen. And I would have never guessed at that point that the person I talk to the most when I'm driving home from work and I'm like, who am I going to call? Call my dad. Me and my dad talk all the time.
I love it.
Yeah. But we both, it was, it's, you never know how it's going to work out.
Yeah.
And it usually works out beautifully.
Yeah. Yeah. And then there's cases that it doesn't, but there is something that you have to go back to, that it's not in your control.
Yeah.
Like you didn't make anybody do anything.
Right. I always like that. I always say that to my kids when they do something and, oh, it was bad. You know, they could be complaining about something, or it was scary, or it was whatever. But did you die? You didn't? You're still here? Okay, cool. Good.
Yeah.
But did you die? Sometimes you do.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay. And then the other piece, something that in my coaching, my coach was very clear on me when I was training up. She goes, you cannot get your stuff on other people.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's both, I mean, you kind of already alluded to it with if you're having a bad day, communicating that, and there's that like present piece. Mm-hmm. But the other angle that she was definitely getting at was my personal beliefs.
Yep.
I can't get on the other person. So I might have this view of God. I might have this view of why we're here. I might have this view of how to do life and all those things. But as soon as you try and apply your ways to somebody else, you're putting some expectations on somebody that are not theirs.
Yep. And
there's inevitably going to be some judgment that comes in there too.
Yep.
So how do you practice that? How do you make sure not to get your stuff on other people?
I always mess up this word, and I said it once before and I did great. Now I'm going to try and say it again, and it's not going to work. Watch. Compartmentalize.
Brilliant.
Oh, perfect.
Well done.
I always have had a struggle with that word, but that is truly one of the biggest things that I do. Yeah. And so in the morning, I check in with myself about if I'm in a bad mood. Okay, check it before you start meeting with your first client of the day. And then as far as like the beliefs or the imposition of putting my own stuff on somebody else, one of my biggest values is respect. And so somebody that believes one thing and it may not be something that I believe, I'm still going to respect that person and hear them out and be the person that they need to process whatever is going on. And don't get me wrong, like in therapy, you get challenged. Like your thought process is also to get challenged, but it's not about putting a belief into somebody else.
Right.
And so that's kind of where lines can get a little bit fuzzy at times. And so you reflect a lot in therapy, and people are like, oh, they just talk to you like the same thing that they say to you say to them, they just say back to you. But part of that is so you don't cross that line, and there's not somebody else imposing on your own values, beliefs, and morals. And so for me, it comes down to respect of like, who am I to sit here and be like, you need to believe this, or you need to have this value. Everybody has different values, and how they show up in their life is going to be completely different than how I want to show up in my life. And I was talking to my boyfriend about this the other day. My goal in life, well, it's not just to help people, but anybody I come across, I want to show them respect, regardless if I agree with a decision that they have made, or I've had maybe a first impression with them that I didn't love. And you have those things that go through your body of like, that didn't feel great. Right. However, my thought process is that I'm never going to be disrespectful to that person. Yeah. I'm still going to be courteous. I'm going to be cordial, whatever it is that interaction is going to look like, whether it's an acquaintance, a friend, a family member, whatever it is. And that keeps me in check. Yeah. Of they are their own person. Right. They get to make their own decisions. And then it's also that piece of like, I don't get to control them. Right. And so that's my biggest thing is respect. I don't get to control them. And they get to be their own person. It goes back to if everybody was doing the same thing, if we were all believing the same thing, if we were all interested in the same thing, how boring would this world be? How boring. Like the dynamics make a huge difference. Yeah. From people to
binary,
people.
The ones and zeros, the everything. Yep. Give us the experience.
Yeah. You wouldn't have a podcast if we all talked about the same thing.
I know. Yeah. Oh, it'd be so boring.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is a really good way of putting it. The respect piece is huge.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's my core value.
Core value is respect.
Is respect. It doesn't matter if it's somebody I just met on the side of the road I got into a car accident with, or if it's somebody that I've known forever and they've just come back into my life and they've made some decisions I don't necessarily agree with. But I think where I get to separate that is that was like their journey.
Yes.
Like they went through that experience, and that's what made them and their main character, right? Like they're the main character in their life. And so I don't get to determine that.
Right.
I get to determine what I do and what my interactions get to look like with that person.
Yes.
And if I can be somebody for that somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. That's so good. And it's so easy to, forget, I think, day to day, right? Because we're so in our heads that, yeah, they got to that. You have a first interaction with somebody and have that, it doesn't quite, something strikes you wrong.
Yeah.
It's like, hold on. They decided to do that life that way for a reason. Mm. How did they get there? Instead of judging it, instead of disrespecting it, be curious about it.
Yep.
How did you get there?
Yep.
Why do you do it that way? Be curious.
Yeah.
I went to an open mic night last Wednesday.
Okay.
And last Wednesday? Yeah. 2 days ago. What's today? Friday?
Yep. Friday.
Yeah. So just a couple days ago. And actually I was supposed to meet up with Damon.
Okay.
And I got there and I texted him and he goes, I had a hard day moving rock, right? He's a mason.
Yep.
I got home and I crashed. I'm so sorry. I'm not going to make it. I'm like, okay. He goes, but go talk to the guy. He's the one that heads up the open mic night. He's expecting you. Go do this. And for probably at least the first half of my life, if you put me in a situation where I don't know somebody, I'm bouncing.
Yeah.
I want nothing to do with it. Right. That's scary.
Yeah.
But instead I talked to him for a second and he was about to start another set. I go sit down. The next thing I know, this lady walks up beside me, 77-year-old Grandma Sandy. And she's got her cane and she was hobbling around a little bit and she's standing there and we chat just for a second. And then she goes, well, I'll go grab my water. Can I come sit with you? I'm like, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. And so
it.
She sits and we watch this set for, an hour or something. And we start chatting. And she had been a cocktail waitress there. She was 77. So 50 years before that same place that we were in,
That's
totally different now, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a total dive bar now. But back in the day, 24 hours a day, they were open serving food and it was a bar and they had live music and it was hopping.
That's awesome.
And so she tells me she got stabbed with a pitchfork when she was 13 and was told she'd never have kids. And she had 6.
Wow.
And
that's amazing.
And she said a line to me. She goes, it's a perspective thing. There's certainly going to be people that don't agree with what she said. But a woman is driven to have children and it was taken away from me. Mm. What was I going to do with my life?
Yeah.
And then, so she ended up kind of living wild. And then all of a sudden she's pregnant. She's like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Right. So I get this wealth. And then like her husband who just passed 3 years ago, Bill, they did long haul together.
Okay.
And she said, and sometimes we'd sneak the kids with us and we got to go see the country. And right. But like if I had looked at her and gone, that's a old lady that, whatever, what, I don't want to talk to her. No, she was fascinating. She was the most, and Grandma Sandy. I know Grandma Sandy now, right?
Yep.
And so she goes, are you going to go up there and play? And so they ended up wrapping up their set. I go up there and I'm talking to the guy and his wife comes over. And same thing, right? I'm like, I don't know this person. And next thing you know, her and she's like an OG Maha mom from California that had to get out of California, but does a ton of political rallies and activism and all this stuff. And there's certainly people that would have had a 1-minute conversation with her and been like, she is crazy. I disagree with everything that she's saying and just judged the hell out of it.
Yep.
And whether I agree with her or not, fascinating.
Yep.
Right? Like super cool. How did she get there?
Yeah.
What made you think that way? I could go, they're burning down Teslas right now. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to burn down a Tesla. That ain't my jam.
Yeah.
But like, instead of going, these people are crazy terrorists, somethings, and maybe they are, but go talk to them. Why are they doing what they're doing?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I have an idea. I have an idea based on what the media has told me.
Yeah.
I have an idea based off of my viewpoint.
Mhm.
But what is their viewpoint? Why are they doing what they're doing? Go find out. Go have a conversation with them.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a supervisor. He always used to tell me, just be curious.
Just be curious.
Yeah. Yeah. And you going and staying like at the dive bar, like that's huge. Like it was uncomfortable. I'm going to make an assumption, but tell me please if I'm wrong. Or not.
Yeah. No,
but it was probably
it would have been. It wasn't who I am now. It's not uncomfortable, but it would have been in the past for sure.
And so like for me, like even joining ABC, like that was uncomfortable in the beginning,
Yeah.
right? Like
all these
walking into
strangers.
yeah, exactly.
And you got to get up and talk about yourself in front of them. Ah.
Yeah. But now it gets a lot more comfortable. Like even this week, I was so brain mushed, gone out of my mind from this training, and I couldn't think of my little 30-second moment, and so I was just like, anxiety, depression, trauma, come talk to me. And I like sat down and I was like, yeah, that happened. But now I feel a little bit more comfortable. Like I'm getting to know people. There isn't as much of, you always feel like that judgment, right? Like that's your own insecurities, your own things that are going on, right?
Yeah.
But there's a comfortability piece of like, I don't have to go in. I mean, I know it's professional and we need to practice those things,
Right.
but like we are human. Like
Right.
we have things that are going on and we may not always be able to say the perfect words that we want to say.
Right.
And that's okay. Like we're going to I sat down and normally I would have thought the whole entire day of like what I said in my 30 seconds, which wasn't even, it was like 10 seconds. and I didn't. I was like, okay, I'm moving forward with my life because that's just where I'm at.
Totally.
And if people have questions, by all means,
Yeah.
feel free to ask.
Well, and I think we end up thinking that mistakes are fatal.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And so at least I know I have, and I used to definitely have a perfectionism. And if I need to go talk in front of people, whether it's a 30-second commercial in a networking group or in front of an audience, or even to a customer one-on-one,
Yep.
if I misspeak, if I stumble over my word, man, they're going to think I'm so stupid.
Mm.
No, there might be somebody that thinks you're stupid. Yeah. Another quote that I love from my coach is, other people's opinions of you are none of your business.
Yep.
Like,
yeah.
But how do I know if they like me? It's none of your business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you like you?
Yep. Exactly.
That's what matters.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the goofier the me, I'm like, okay, well at that point, the goofier the better. I have a good time when I'm messing stuff up, I guess.
Yeah.
Or at least maybe I'll view it that way.
Yeah.
Right? You get a pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it does. It makes, I don't know. Again, it's your experiences.
It's your experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and Carl Jung has that great quote about, you can go be about your business, and you could do it in the most solitary of confinement, and like-minded people will come and find you.
Yep.
Right. Your tribe, you will find. You being here 4 months, you are going to end up, you're going to look back a year from now and being like, I have so many friends and I have so many different things that I could be doing.
Yeah.
Now I don't have enough time.
Yeah.
Now I don't have enough capacity for all of my community.
Yeah.
And just go, the more authentic you present yourself in the world, the better.
Yep. Yeah. And that's a key thing, because I'm going to go down a rabbit hole.
Yes, please. I love rabbit holes.
But you look at social media.
Oh,
right? Like,
the fake media, you mean?
The fake media.
Geez.
Yeah. Like the authenticity of people is gone because we're trying to portray all of these things that I'm going to share my belief, my thought process on this is that I think if we could go back to being focused on the connections, the real connections that we're making with people, that's where we're going to grow as a society. And don't get me wrong, there's benefits to social media. There's benefits to having our phones, the technology that we have, all of the things, because you get to talk to somebody that lives across the country or in a whole different country.
Oh, yeah.
Right. But I think if we took a step back and just listened and talked with the people that are in front of us, we would just be in a whole different life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it is like, it's just being curious and like you getting to know the 70-year-old Grandma Sandy.
Yeah.
Like,
you're right.
Yeah. Like who knows? Like you said, maybe you would have left and you would have never heard her stories and learned something new about her present history, right? We all look at things differently. What could have been important in somebody else's life wasn't important in Sandy's life or whatever it was.
Right.
And so now you get to hear this whole thing. My mom used to live with this gal. She passed away at 102 years old.
Oh yeah.
And I used to love going over and just hearing her talk about her, like her life,
Yeah.
her stories, all the things that she had to say. And I just was like fascinated. I mean, yeah, I know you have like history books in school and all the things, but like nothing compares to hearing it from that person's perspective.
Right.
And just learning about them and what made them them.
Right.
Yeah. And I
It's
keep going back
cool.
to this. I know, but
Yeah.
the therapy goes a long ways with that too. Of like, what makes you you?
Yeah. What makes you you? Yeah. Well, and I think that's, you talk to people that get into old age or near death or have near death experiences. And one of the things that I think is a pretty consistent theme is, holy crap, I was living my life for somebody else or for something else. I wasn't living my life. The biggest regret is, yeah, I didn't spend time with my kids. I was busy at work. Well, nobody cares, right? Like, nobody's going to remember the 40-hour weeks that you put behind your desk.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I mean, yes, you can have a very fruitful, meaningful career. That's not the point I'm trying to make. But did you go do the things that you wanted to do and have the impact and live the life that you wanted to live?
Yeah.
Because we all do. We all want to live our lives.
Yeah.
So go do it.
Yeah.
Sounds a lot easier than it
Yeah,
can be
it
sometimes.
does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we get wrapped up. We get
We get
wrapped
wrapped up.
in what the perfect life should be.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And that I've got to make this amount of money and I've got to travel every year and I've got to do this and I've got to do that and I've got to have all the right clothes. Like we get stuck in what that perfect life looks like. And in all reality, nobody has a perfect life. Again,
No.
it would go back to the same thing. We'd all be so boring.
Right. We would be all so boring. Yeah. Well, and right, the saying money doesn't buy happiness.
Yeah.
Well, could certainly buy me some time.
Yeah.
That'd be
Or-
kind of
Or
nice.
peace of mind.
Or peace
the
of mind.
stress
Right. And so
yeah.
I'm definitely not gonna crap all over money because I do enjoy money. But to pursue that just for the pursuit of and think that it is going to fix things,
Yeah.
the only thing that's going to fix things is if you are happy with you.
Yep.
Right? You could be dirt poor, you could be filthy rich, anywhere in between. Are you happy with you?
Yep.
Are you living your life?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The way you want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I am curious, and I was going to bring this up earlier, but I always love how things transition the right way. This is a thought exercise I've been mulling over for a while now, because I left religion and I was like, okay, I know I didn't get my morality just from that, but I certainly got some of it and some of the way to do life from that religion, right? Obviously it makes sense, belief system. If I want everybody living their life and no judgment and all those things, I think there's still probably at least some moral code as humans that we should agree upon, right? Like, I want you to live your life, but if you're a mass murderer, I don't want you to live your life.
Yeah.
Right? What do you think a good, and this kind of goes back to the not getting your stuff on other people, like, where is that line? What is okay, this is, that isn't right. You shouldn't do that thing. Don't do that thing.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to go back to the respect piece.
Okay.
Okay. So you got a mass murder. Obviously, I do not agree with mass murdering people.
Yeah. You aren't going to pull a Ted Bundy.
No. Yeah. No.
You aren't going to be.
Yeah. No.
No.
Or
yeah.
Yeah.
Stalin or anything like that.
Yeah. But it comes down to, again, like, what is going on with that person?
Right. What is going on with that person?
Yeah. And so I don't respect your decisions.
Yeah.
I respect you as a person.
Yeah.
And I will be able to have a conversation with you, or maybe I don't. Maybe I can't. Maybe I'm not able to. And I got to check in with myself about that. Right.
Right.
But I think there is a line of, we are all human. We are all put on this earth for one reason or another.
Yep.
Again, don't get me wrong. I don't think mass murdering is good. I don't think serial killing is good. I don't like any of that stuff. Anything that causes harm, I'm just not a fan of.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't strike me as a fighter.
Yeah. And so, but I do think there is a part of being, going back to the curiosity piece of like, I always think about like, I'm going to go a little bit of a rabbit hole in this direction, but, and people will say what they say, but I went to Amsterdam a couple of years ago.
Oh, I've always wanted to go.
And we went down the red light district.
Yes. Cool.
And it's everybody was super excited. This group of friends that we were with was super excited. My brain went, how many people that are in these windows were abused sexually?
Right. Yep.
And that's all I could think of. So I didn't enjoy my time down there.
No.
Like that's all I could think of.
Yep.
And so like that was their way of coping. Like
right.
when you're abused sexually, you become sexualized more than likely a lot of the times.
Yep.
And so that ends up being what's comfortable, what's normal for that person.
Totally.
But I'm still going to respect them as a person. Like I didn't see them as the sexualized thing that they were presenting themselves to be. And some people choose to be a stripper or whatever, and by all means do what you want to do. But there's that line of like, I'm still going to respect this person. Yeah. Because they are a person, like they were put here. Right. However, there is consequences to actions. Right. No matter what. Like always. Small or big, we always have consequences to actions. And there is that moral code of mine is personally like do no harm, like that. Right. Like I don't want to harm somebody. I don't want to be the reason somebody is struggling. Like I want to be the person that they come to for help. Right. And so I guess I don't really know how to answer your question aside from the fact that like there is, and I go back to the word balance, like there's got to be a balance of where we shouldn't have mass murderers running around because what is going, like what you put it into a smaller scale of like what is going on with them. Right. That is feeding that. Right. And so maybe we can help them. Maybe we can't. I don't know. Right. That's not a population I've ever worked with, but I do think there is a benefit to seeing somebody as a person. And I know there's controversy on that with sex offenders and things like that, mass burners. But in my brain, there is still some aspect of like, this person is a person. Right. And whatever they're going through is a struggle in that like they just broke. Right. And so our moral code, what does that look like? Are we just going to, do we do the death sentence? I don't know. Or do we try to help them? I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is to that. Honestly, I think there's multiple different areas that you can go, and everybody's going to have different experiences, right? Like if you had somebody pass away at a school shooting, like you're going to feel so much more strongly because you had that direct impact of like, yeah, this person needs the death sentence. They need to leave. They need to do their thing. Like, they're not going to be any good to society. They're a danger. Get rid of them. Yeah. 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 And again, without getting too controversial, I guess. I think. Well, and I don't know that, I mean, you could label it controversial, but this is why this is such an interesting question to me and why I've been mulling it over. Because I could come to something like, you do you as long as you're not hurting other people, right? Do no harm. Yep. That seems like a pretty good policy, right? But then what if you, and right, it could be because of traumas or they got there somehow. There's going to be people that like to hurt other people. Yeah. Yep. There's going to be people that like to get hurt. Yep. Okay. Well, if they find each other, they want it. Yep. Should we as a society say, you can't do that thing? Well, I don't know. I mean, so would my policy of, that's a pretty good foundation piece, is do your thing until you're hurting other people? Well, what if it includes hurting other people and they're for that, right? Yeah. Like it ends up becoming, okay, well, that's a really twisted way to look at it, Brandon. I don't know. Yeah. And it kind of goes back to, if everybody was the same, it would be boring. Yeah. And so, and then you start to throw in things like religious beliefs and everything else, right? And this is why you don't get your stuff on other people. Yeah. But I do think maybe another foundational piece, at least for me, is as soon as you start to say that your way is the right way, you're wrong. Yep. Yep. Right. So maybe do your thing. Try not to hurt other people. Don't hurt other people, please. Yeah. And don't get your stuff. Don't think that your way is the right way and force it on other people. Yeah.
And I think because I'm a huge fan of history and trying to play through and going, okay, so Stalin definitely trying to get his stuff on other people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what led to hurting other people. Okay. So he had kept to himself, maybe Stalin would have been a great guy. I have no idea. But as soon as you put him in charge and you have to do it his way, and then it gets into, well, how do you form society if you don't have leadership? And then they're getting your stuff. I mean, it goes into, this is why I'm like Jordan Peterson and Plato, and like go down all the different thought, like Carl Jung, going down all these different thought leaders of, okay, so they have a piece that I think is interesting, but it's not the whole picture.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so do you have some, like, who are your favorite people, philosophers, or people that have had certain modalities or just things that you've vibed with that are like, yeah, this is, or it could be religious?
You know, you're going to learn this about me very quickly, especially since I'm about to admit it. I am awful with names.
Yeah, me too. I'm Brandon, by the way. Hi.
Yeah. Hi. Nice to meet you. No, I think so I grew up Christian.
Okay. Yep.
I think a lot of where my values and beliefs come from the Christian background.
Yeah.
And so I think that is more of what I lean on versus on the philosophy side of things.
Yep. Makes sense.
And so, but again, it would be going back to the respect is just my biggest thing, and my morals come from.
It's the driver.
Yeah, it truly is, and I feel like I'd just be beating a dead horse, but a lot of it is just like I get to respect anybody that comes into my life.
Yeah,
and they don't deserve anything less.
Right. Well, it's the 2 great commandments.
Yep.
Love God, love each other.
Yep.
It's not hard.
Yeah.
It's not hard. Yeah. And man, do we complicate it.
Yeah.
A lot.
We definitely do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's just so many different facets, I guess, to how people look at each other.
Yeah.
And that's big.
It is.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm curious. I always like to find out the thing because non-denominational.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I grew up Seventh-day Adventist. I still go to Seventh-day Adventist church every once in a while, but my boyfriend is non-denominational, so I kind of
cool.
The balance between the two, right? Like he goes to church with me sometimes, I go to church with him sometimes, and sometimes we don't go to church, and we have our beliefs. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I love that. My best friend grew up Seventh-day, and so him and I would compare notes because I was Mormon.
Okay.
And so we do that dance, and now is he an atheist now? He might be an atheist.
Okay.
And actually he has a very interesting conclusion now. He's like, no, humans are, I don't think he would phrase it this way. This is my interpretation of the way that he presents it. Mm-hmm. Humans are cancer on the earth. Like everything would go back to being perfect if we weren't here. So whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh. I and my wife's always like, why do you talk to him? And I go, him and I, we're on different ends of the political spectrum. We're on different ends of the belief systems. We're like, but man, it's the respect thing. We have the most fascinating conversations.
I bet.
And it's amazing how many things we agree on.
Yeah.
Right? Where we might have a different solution. We might think the answer is different, but we both see the problem, or we both see the situation. We were analyzing this piece, but he sees the 9, I see the 6, and it's like, we're both seeing the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. I love that you see, I love that he sees it that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, respect. I love that respect has been brought in so many times because man, that is just it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, sorry I brought it up so much, but yeah,
please don't.
Yeah.
That's
that is my biggest thing. If I could advocate for anything, would just be respect.
Respect. Yeah. Okay, so let's go a little bit more into you personally. And again, you can be like, Brandon, we weren't talking about this piece. But where did you grow up? Where are you at in the birth order? What got you to where you are today?
Okay. So I'm from California, as I mentioned previously.
Which part?
Bay Area.
Yep. Oh, it's so beautiful down there.
Yep, it is. Yeah, absolutely love where I grew up. I wouldn't have changed that by any means. Again, the biggest part was just I wanted a slower pace of life and less people which now Coeur d'Alene is getting very busy.
I know. Can we kick him out?
Yeah, I wish. Which I would
we
probably
shut
be
the
included.
door. Nobody else come in.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. But I have a half brother.
Oh, cool.
And then he is 4 years older than me. And then my dad recently got married. Well, I say recently. It's not. It's probably been 3 years.
Yeah,
I guess it's still
recent-ish. Yeah.
And so now I have acquired a stepbrother.
Oh, cool.
And he's a year younger than me.
Oh, yeah.
I believe. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're right in that kind of the same age. And so I don't have much of a relationship with my half brother. He's still in California. He moved out around 15, and so he was
He was 15. You were 15.
He was 15.
He was
I'm
15.
sorry.
Okay. Yeah.
So I would have been 11. Yeah, 11. Yeah. And so he was a big factor of me getting into the therapy world. And I don't necessarily know if I knew I wanted to be in therapy when I was younger. Like I wanted to be a mental health therapist, I should say, instead of in therapy. But I had, my parents are divorced. They had divorced when I was an infant. And so there was just always kind of this back and forth. And then my half brother had his mom. So we share the same dad.
Yep.
And so we, like, between him and I, we were always kind of moving households, but my dad did a really great job as far as like trying to have us grow up as much together as he could within the time frame that he had us. And so, gosh, I forgot where I was going with this. Oh, and so he ended up moving out, living with his mom. And we kind of just created this distance, right? Like we were no longer connected
right
with the way that we were growing up, and him being older and having his friends with his mom and then my friends with my mom, and it's splitting half the time and all of the things. But that was like a big thing of like connection, right? Like, and I go back to like, we need connection. And so he was kind of a big reason of why I decided to go into a helping profession, is where I initially started. I wanted to be a doctor or a nurse or something like that. Then I decided I didn't want to go into so much debt going to medical school.
Yep.
And so, and then I had the situations going on with the substance use in my family that I didn't necessarily know that was going on. And I don't know if that was just more of like a disassociation piece on my end. But then as I started learning more and going to school and in college, I was taking the intro to psychology courses and all of that stuff. And I was like, this is it. This is what I want to go do. And family played a big role in that as well. And, so that's where my road led me.
Cool. I love that.
Yeah.
That's, split time between mom and dad.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a good relationship with mom and dad?
Yep.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's, you can't boil statistics, only tell you so much of the story, but that's one of those. So like for us, I grew up, mom, dad, younger brothers, normal household, nothing crazy.
Mm-hmm.
My brother, who's 15 years younger than me.
That's a big age gap.
Yep. Had addiction in the house. And then my parents were split. And then he was getting tossed around between mom, aunts, me. Right.
Yep.
And I'm always like, okay, how do you, because having mom and dad at home, statistics, right?
Mm-hmm.
You end up having a more stabilized person.
Yep. Yeah.
And so at least having mom and dad that you love, that you have a good relationship with, that definitely helps.
Yeah.
Bouncing back and forth, there's a little bit of destabilization there, but if you, especially if you don't know anything different,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And you're getting the communication and what you need.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah. Yeah. And don't get me wrong. I went through my teenage years and
there
were struggles, right? But yeah, no, I truly wouldn't change anything about the relationship that I have with my parents now.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And are they both still down there?
My dad lives actually here in Idaho, and then my
cool.
mom is in California.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So you get to go travel around and see people. And yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Yeah. I get to see my dad once a week now. So
nice.
I love that.
Yeah. How did you end up in Montana for school?
No, I ended up in oh, wow. Okay.
And you said Minnesota.
Yeah. And I said Minnesota. Oh, so Minnesota, I went to grad school for.
Okay.
So I graduated college during COVID 2020.
Oh, fun.
Was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, if I wanted to go right into grad school or if I wanted to hold off. I was really insistent on wanting an in-person graduate school. learn better in person. I'm a hands-on. I want to be in person.
Yeah.
And I was kind of going into this back and forth, and I made a last minute decision to apply to Hazelden Betty Ford. They have a graduate school.
Cool.
And they were keeping in person, and I got in, which was great. And so within a matter of a couple months, I ended up moving to Minnesota. And
much different than California.
Yep. Yeah. Very much different. Very cold compared to Idaho as well. And so I was there for a year. I was desperate to come back to Idaho.
Yeah.
It was just isolating. Like, I didn't have anybody over there. I had the friends that I had made in the cohort, but it wasn't anything that I had built like this, true connection with, I felt like. And so I missed home. I was homesick a lot. And my dad was doing a sales call for somebody, and they started talking, and he was one of the owners of the residential facility that I used to work for.
Oh.
My dad goes, "Oh, my daughter's looking for an internship back in this area. She's in this field, da, da, da." So we got in contact. And so just super randomly, I flew out for an interview, got to see the campus, got to meet some of the kids, the staff. And first opportunity I had, I moved back and continued my internship for school. So the second leg of my master's program, you could do online.
Yeah.
And so it worked out perfectly to where I could move back and I moved to Coeur d'Alene.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be in Libby or anything like that. I was up in that area. I was like, I'm an introvert at nature. And so I was like, I'm not going to do anything if I live in that area.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, it's absolutely beautiful. And if I had a family, and I would probably live up there, but on my own, I was not ready. And so I commuted back and forth, but that's how I ended up in Montana, is that it was just at the internship. And then they hired me on to be a therapist there. And it was just, great. I absolutely love. I still, if it wasn't that I was burnt out about the drive, I would probably still be working for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or working full time, because I still work for them part time.
Right. Yeah. Cool. Well, and I love that you did open up your own office. I think that's right. I mean, driven to help people. Oh, I could do it here. I could do it here. I could do it. So it doesn't surprise me that you still have a leg in both. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Cause I have a sense that you'd probably get a little stir crazy if you weren't doing.
Yeah. Well, the transition definitely was like, what am I doing? I think I slept for the first, so I moved to part-time in mid-December, and that first week, so I used to work 40 hours a week in 2.5 days.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. And so it was that, and that was them working with me. So I didn't have to be up there 4 days out of the week. I could only be up there 2.5. And so I could just drive home. And so I absolutely love that.
Yeah.
But it was long days. And so I didn't realize this.
What, is that 14 hours? 14 hours?
It's it's 16. Well, you could do anything. So I used to do 16, 8.
Oh my gosh.
So long hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the first week of me being part-time, I slept all the time. The time I was sleeping. And then after that, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. And that's why I was like, I need to go network. I need to go
I need people.
Yep. Yeah. The community. And this was something else. I was talking to a different therapist that I met in town. I was like, I'm in a residential, you have other therapists around you to be able to collaborate if you're having an issue, if things are going kind of like, oh, did I do this right? Did I have the right conversation? Whatever that looks like, you get people to bounce things off of. Well, in private practice, you have this isolation piece where it's just you. Oh. And there isn't that community where you can just step outside the door and talk to somebody. And so I was like, what is going on? As much as I'm introverted, I needed that piece.
Yeah.
And so that's where the networking came in. That was where I reach out to people on Facebook that have just moved to the area or have been in the area, and they're like, hey, we'd love to meet out for coffee and all the things. And now I'm at the point where I'm like, I feel like I need the connection, not even just let's talk about work, but just let's just talk in general. Yeah. We have these things in common. We can relate. When you work in residential, the people that are in private practice don't always understand what residential can look like, and vice versa. Whatever you're doing, there's so many different facets in therapy that whatever you're working in, it's a different capacity. And so if you can find like those common things, it's so nice.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't have to explain this to you. You just know what this means.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's like the code word, right? Everything has those. As soon as you say it, you're like, oh, you understand me.
Yep.
Yeah,
exactly.
You've experienced it.
Yep.
Okay. I don't have to give you the whole backstory.
Yep.
I just get to say a word and we're synced in.
Yep.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. It is amazing to have that. And so, so that's kind of where the community piece was big.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So I'm curious about that. What are your interests? And I want to know the nerdiest thing out to the like, what do you do? What do you do in your off time?
Well, okay, so this is
the look on your face is like, why is he this question, Brandon?
It's because so many people ask that question, and I truly just don't have a great answer to that question because I spent so much time, even in high school. I started working like literally the moment I could start working, and I had this like workaholic tendency, especially in high school, because I was like, what am I gonna do? Like, I might as well make money and like do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I kind of like brought that in with me. I've carried that with me. Like I just focused on school and I focused on work, and I really just lost a lot of my hobbies.
Yeah.
And so I've spent the last, I would like to say year, but it probably hasn't been great over the last year of me like trying to figure out who I am again.
Yeah.
And the things that I like to do. And so I knew that in high school I really liked baking, so I started baking again.
Oh yeah.
And especially with everybody doing sourdough, I was like, I might as well just jump on this train.
That's right. Give me a starter.
Yep.
Let's go.
Yep. And so so I started doing that with the caveat that I've only baked one loaf, and I've just made like discard recipes, truly, because I've been nervous to like cook because it's like a multi-day thing. Well, again, lots of controversy on how you cook sourdough, but it can be a multi-day thing. And so so that's one thing that I've gotten back into, and my mom was in town visiting in November, and that's truly when I was like, oh, and I started baking cookies, and I like started giving them to the neighbors, and I made like cookie baskets.
Best way to make friends, bring them cookies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, like I like baking. Like I'm gonna keep doing this. Like now I'm home all the time. I have the energy.
Yeah.
Was the biggest thing. And then I just love being outdoors. Hiking is a really, really big thing for me.
Cool.
And then we just bought a kayak, so I'm really excited about that. I've been borrowing my dad's kayaks every once in a while over the summer, but we now have one, so we'll only have to borrow one, which will be good. But I just like being outdoors. That's what brings me peace, like the fresh air, the sunshine, especially the sunshine is a big thing. And then in my EBC little presentation thingy that I did a couple weeks ago, I had in there originally like napping, and my boyfriend was like, you should really take that out. And I was like,
you should know. Napping is good. Napping's great.
Yeah.
It's a great hobby.
I love naps for whatever reason. We always grew up like Saturday afternoons we would take naps, and my dad would get home from work and he like long work days, and so he would take like his nap before bed, right? And so like
nap before bed.
And so
the appetizer.
Yep, exactly. And so I just kind of like grew up with like a family that we just kind of like napped, and so that's just like a thing. Like I like my naps. I know they're probably not great for your sleep routine and things like that.
Well, does it throw off your sleep routine?
No, not usually, because I'm so used to like doing them. Yeah.
And are these like little cat naps, or is this like I'm out 2 hours?
No, it depends. Sometimes they're like 30 minutes. Sometimes if I don't have anything going on and I'm not being irresponsible, I'll like allow myself to have like a 3 or 4 hour nap. Yeah. And so that's normally like a weekend thing that if I'm not busy and doing
that sounds
things.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And so
especially because I think I went to sleep at 1 and woke up at 5:30. So I'm like,
we should really talk about your sleep schedule or your sleep routine.
It was not good. I'm good. I actually, since daylight savings time, I've been all over the place.
Me too.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Nasty.
Yeah. I do hope they get rid of that.
Yeah. Well, it's better to be on standard time, right? For our circadian rhythms.
Yep.
I understand the argument for daylight savings time, but standard time's better.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Those are good. Outdoors, always outdoors. Mm-hmm. And we need it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we definitely
do.
The
fresh air, the sun, the movement. And there's so many ways to do it.
Yep.
Hiking's great. Being on the water is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't like running. So That
Yeah,
one's
I
bad.
love
Don't do that.
reading. Yeah.
That's my health advice. Don't run. Don't listen to me. Yeah. I in baking.
Mm.
Okay, please tell me you don't do oatmeal raisin cookies though.
No. Well,
No.
I'm sure I could.
You could.
Yeah, but I haven't.
Okay.
Yeah, over the holidays I was very much stuck on like a pumpkin chocolate chip cookie or like a pumpkin chocolate chip loaf. That was like my combo. I love chocolate.
Chocolate's so good.
So good. And
Dark, light, in between.
dark.
No, yeah, dark.
Dark
Yeah,
chocolate.
okay.
Dark chocolate is the way to go in my opinion. But yeah, so I just mainly cookies I would say is where I really like to cook.
Have you ever used browned butter in place of regular butter?
I have in one recipe once a very long time ago.
Okay.
Yeah, because I do remember, and now that seems to be like coming back into the baking world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's well, because you end up what is that cooking? The milk fats, I think, is what it's doing. And there's some portion of the butter that it's doing, but like tossing it in low medium heat, whisk it for a while, and pretty soon it'll start to smell like it'll have this like nutty
Yep.
something. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's what I do on my popcorn.
Oh,
that's what I
love
do.
It.
The reason I started doing it is there's I think it's Spaghetti Factory, some Italian restaurant. They do like a brown butter pasta.
Okay.
And then they put some Macinthra, which is a really dry cheese over the top of it. But that nuttiness from the butter, oh my gosh. And so I was like, this brown butter thing, I think I can do this in everything. If you make your chocolate chips with brown butter, oh my gosh. Yeah. So I have a problem. Okay. I told Rachel, my wife, yes. Oh, that was last night when I was up too late. Yeah, if I had the ability to, if I didn't have to work, if I was staying home, I would be 500 pounds because I would be baking all the time and I would be eating all of it. I love to bake. I love to cook. I love all that stuff. Yeah.
That is awesome.
So cookies. Well, if you were going to make a cookie right now, what's your go-to? I do like the pumpkin chocolate. The pumpkin
chocolate was good.
Yeah, but we're out of season.
Yeah, we are out of season. That is true. Honestly, I'm a sucker for like a good classic chocolate chip cookie, and I'm on the hunt for like that recipe that just sticks with you instead of bouncing around. I feel like I still bounce around. I haven't found that like
the one on the back
recipe.
of that label, the one on the back of that one.
Yep.
Yeah.
That would be my one.
And do you like, I mean, there's so many different consistencies.
I know.
What's your consistency?
I like it a little bit chewy, but it's got to have a bit of a crunch.
You like the crunch?
I like the crunch because if anything, I like to dip cookies in milk.
Oh.
And so I love when it gets just like slightly soggy.
Yeah.
And you're just like, that was so good. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm much more of the I want them undercooked so they're still a little doughy.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I always go back and forth. Do I like them fresh? I mean, of course you like them fresh with some milk. Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
But then that next day is good too.
Yeah.
It's hard to make a bad chocolate chip cookie.
Yeah.
You really got to screw it up.
Yeah.
Somewhere my mom ended up getting a recipe of this lady loved this cookie from this restaurant, and she wanted the recipe and they said, yep, sure. Give us your card and we'll sell it to you. And it was $5,000. Or something stupid. It was some stupid amount of money that they charged for a cookie recipe.
Yep.
But that's what it's called, right? Is the $5,000 cookie recipe. And I'm getting the dollar amount wrong. That's a pretty good cookie.
Is it?
Yeah. I don't know if I'd pay that much for the recipe, but now that it's spread out across the world, because she was like, I'm going to spite them since they made me pay for it. I'm going to spread it out everywhere.
That's too funny.
But that's good. That's good to know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was expecting you D&D or are part of a knitting club, or you don't have any nerdy thing?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I tried to learn how to crochet.
Okay. Or you've picked up pickleball.
I do like pickleball.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I do like pickleball. Yeah, I'm like the person that tries a whole bunch of different things, but doesn't really stick with a whole bunch of stuff. I just want to experience it all.
Experience.
Yeah. Yeah, like skiing. I'm impartial to skiing. Like I will go, but I'm not.
It ain't your thing.
Yeah, it's not like the thing I'm like, oh, let's go skiing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
We'll go skiing. Or
Let's
I'll just sit in
dabble
the
over here.
lodge
Let's
while you
dabble
like
over there.
go skiing. Yeah.
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 That one's good. Well, and people love it when there's somebody that comes along that doesn't necessarily have to be on the slopes and you are in the, what was the word? You just used it. The not the cabin, the
lodge.
The lodge.
Yeah.
Brains. Yeah, right. Because then you get to save the table.
Yep.
Yeah. And they come in for lunch and it's crowded, but you got a spot for them.
Yep. Exactly.
We all need that person.
Yeah. Yeah. So I feel like that's my duty when it's
perfect.
skiing season. Yeah.
Yeah. That's so good.
Yeah.
Well, and that is the, I used to get pretty bad seasonal depression.
Okay.
So, right, like I want to be outside.
Yeah.
And part of the reason we chose this being in Coeur d'Alene is you got Lake Coeur d'Alene, you got Hayden Lake, and you got like anywhere you got beautiful trails, and it's just, you want to do it outdoors. It's all available.
Yeah.
What do you do in December, January, February if you aren't a skier? Nothing.
You could go snowshoeing.
It's cold.
It is
I don't like
cold.
being cold. So it was actually nice. What I realized was, so I'm the guy that I want to work out in the morning.
Okay.
And I feel really good when I work out, right? You get all those endorphins, you get everything moving, it's so good for you.
Yeah.
Work out in the morning, and then go to work at night, go out to the lake, go have fun. I was all like, it's so good for me. During the summer, most vibrant, awesome Brandon.
Yeah. I feel like that's a lot of people though.
A lot of people.
Yeah. Because that's sunshine.
That's sunshine. But then in the winter, my schedule gets thrown off because my son's got jazz band. So I'm not working out in the morning. So I'm still trying to, do I get it in the afternoon? I'm not working out 4 or 5 days a week. I'm working out 2, maybe.
Yeah.
So I used to fight against all that stuff. And I think this is probably part of the bigger conversation too, is fighting against the thing I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
But this year I gave in. Like, okay, that's the season I'm in, and it's okay.
Yeah.
And I'm going to hibernate a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm going to add 10 pounds, and I'm going to whatever. You know what? But I'm going to be on Netflix. I'm going to give in, and I'm just going to let it ride. I feel great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
but I had to like very consciously go, okay, why am I, it can't just be because it's dark all the time, which plays a part in it. Mm-hmm. It can't just be because it's cold. I am fighting against something. What am I fighting against?
Yeah.
I knew the answer.
Yeah.
I just had to like be okay with it.
Yeah. Radical acceptance.
Radical acceptance. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It is crazy how much easier our lives get to be when we radically accept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that we got to this point and we hadn't used that term yet.
I know.
Yeah.
It was the perfect segue into
Perfect segue. We've had a lot of those.
Yeah.
Except for when my brain goes, where are you at? Okay, so I have a famous last question.
Okay.
But I don't want to get there yet. I don't want to skip over anything. So we might still have a half an hour to an hour. Okay. I have no idea.
Okay.
Are there things that you want to explore that I haven't touched on?
I don't know. I've only listened to you and Dane, so I don't know what other. I was trying to like questions that he might ask and like, where could we go?
Well, and when I started this, I had a whole list of like top 5 favorite movies.
Yeah.
Well, okay. That definitely helps you realize who that person is, right? Like that's part of what makes him a main character. And I had all sorts of weird, crazy questions, and I got into the first one. I didn't ask any of them. Like that list was useless. It's good to like get thinking and okay, this will help me flesh out who that person is.
Yeah.
But I definitely, except for my last question, I don't have a standard. I'm going to make sure I ask there's definitely themes, right? I ask about religion and about work and family and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But like we didn't get into anything about you and your boyfriend.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a good point. Maybe he'd be like, you guys didn't talk about me at all. You don't love me? Why'd you choose him? What's the
why did I choose him?
Yeah. Well, what's up with the boyfriend?
He's just,
does he have a name?
His name's Bryson.
Okay. All right. Bryson.
He's just, I don't know. He's just like that gentleman, like that old school, like he just shows up for you with whatever you need and supports you. And truly like I have my family support, but for being we've been together for 3 years, but for being in a 3-year relationship, which isn't super, super long, like
Well, but you get through some stuff in 3 years.
You do. And he's a huge, like, he's the financial side of everything. Like, he's paying the bills right now for me to be able to start my private practice.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
He's just like this rock in my life. And so he was my date to my dad's wedding.
Oh, cool.
And it was just like random.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we had met.
Did you pick him out of a hat? How did you, how random is this?
So we met online.
Okay.
And then we had gone on like, we hadn't like, so let me backtrack. So we had met online. We never met. I moved to Minnesota and he had like posted something on Snapchat and I like commented on it or whatever. I reached out and I was like, oh, hey, like whatever. This was before I knew I was going to be moving back. And so him and I were talking a little bit and then I found out that I was moving back, that they offered me the job. And then I invited him. I was just like, whatever, like if it comes of anything or if it doesn't, I just was like, oh, it'd be nice to have a date to my dad's wedding.
Right.
And
well, yeah.
So him and I met when I came out for the interview. We went on our first date.
Cool.
And then pretty much he was just my date to my dad's wedding. So second date, he was there. So
it's a good second date.
Yeah. But he might think a little bit differently meeting my dad.
Right. Yeah. Well, and meeting all the rest of the who's your date?
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
This is the second date.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean anything yet.
Yeah. No, he was a trooper in that regard for sure. But and then we just kind of hit it off. We hung out off and on, for those first few months. And then I'm 6 months into me being here. It was just like, let's do this.
Let's do it.
Yeah. And so we just celebrated our 33-year anniversary last week.
Hey, congrats.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
I love that.
It's been great. And he's just all around great. Like he's just the supportive person that I need in my life. And he's like I'm very serious a lot of the time. I'm not a huge like jokester person.
You seem like a great time. And so I
you.
definitely don't get you as serious, but
I would say I'm more, or maybe I should say calm. Like I'm not the person that like is out there.
Yeah.
And he brings that out in me. Like he brings out the childlikeness
some playfulness.
in me. Yeah. And I love that because I just, with having divorced parents, I feel like I grew up very quickly with just navigating everything that like I have to make sure my clothes are packed because I'm at mom's house this week or I'm at dad's house this week or whatever it is that I had to transition, and just other life experiences too that I feel like I grew up a little bit faster.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Had to be self what's the word?
Self-sufficient.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. And so he kind of brings that out in me and I absolutely love that. And I absolutely love that he just has like this, I don't even know. He's just wonderful and great. Like he's just amazing.
I love watching people's faces, and when you're talking about him, you light up.
Yeah,
it's fun.
Yeah, I love him so much.
Oh, that's so cool. Well, and that's a good point too, because you didn't have that modeled for you, right?
Yeah.
And so, one of the big things that Rachel and I have talked about is, because we got married young. I was 19, she was 20.
Okay.
It's like, so you get codependent, right? We haven't even talked about codependency.
Yeah.
And so, you definitely need to socialize and communicate and do all those things. But then you can get to the point where you are so intertangled with somebody else that you don't know where you end and where they begin.
Yep. Yeah.
And so you got to do life in so many cool ways that now in 3 years with him, do you feel any codependency? I mean, that's, or do you think you have a pretty good, healthy, because two people being autonomous, coming together, deciding to do life together, versus, oh my gosh, we're so entangled, right? There's a line there.
Yeah, I do think I fell into it. I think I've caught myself.
Okay.
I think part of it was my circumstances too, is that I was gone in Montana, and so and he was obviously like here in this area. And so I don't know if it was like full codependency or not, but I definitely feel like I fell into a little bit of like, I just want to be with you when I'm home.
Yeah.
And like, let's just hang out and like, let's do everything together. Yeah. When in all reality, like we have to live our separate lives. And I know that like, obviously, logically, I know that too. Like I preach that like, you can't be codependent.
Right.
And so, but I do think like there was just like that. And I know he felt also some of the things, and we've talked about that previously too. Like it's been nice since I've been home every night now.
Yeah.
And like we get to be able to go and do things on our own, but also we can do things together in the past. And I know it was way more than me, like of me, that I just was like, I just want to be with you all the time. Like I just am so like in love with you. And so the days that I was gone, I was like, oh, this sucks. But also I loved my job. But yeah, like I just missed my person. Like he was my person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. And it's hard to, it's that whole distance makes the heart grow fonder, right? Like it is good to have some separation, spend some time with you, not be with that person.
Yeah.
And then when you come back with them, you can be fully there and just love on them and enjoy your person.
Yep. Yeah.
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 Where if you're always just on top of each other, it can get,
it gets sticky sometimes.
It gets sticky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. That's cool. I love that. I love when people have their person. Yeah. Person. Any and all that. We can have multiple persons.
Yeah, we definitely can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a question. Are you guys, and it could be you guys, or maybe I should just be asking, are you planning on hoping one of these days having kids?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yes, kids. I go crazy. Like kids are wonderful, right? Kids are the best. I love kids. And again, sometimes when they're around too much and I'm like, you guys are driving me absolutely bonkers.
Yep.
But then I can spend a day away or a couple days away for work or something. And I'm like, I miss my kids.
Yeah.
And Rachel goes, you weren't saying that when you were walking out the door. Oh yeah. Our people, people are so funny. I need the socialization. Too much socialization.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's finding that balance.
It's finding the balance.
Yeah.
Enough to drive your not liking the word balance professor crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. What else? Is there anything else that we should know about you that makes you that, man, we're not getting that out on the table?
I don't think so.
We got a pretty good picture of.
Yeah, I think so.
This is Adriana.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So before my famous last question, what does the future hold? Where do you want to be in 5 years, 10 years, 50 years?
That was a lot of different time frames.
We were talking about Mars the other day, right? At lunch.
Yeah.
You want to be on Mars in 50 years?
Yeah. No.
No. Okay.
No.
You are not one of the opting in to go to Mars people.
No, I'm
Got
not. I'm okay with life on Earth.
Yeah.
Part of that is probably because I don't want to change.
You're very earthling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the answer to that question is just to have my business maybe a little more established.
Okay. Yep.
Hopefully married with kids. And
Bryson, are you getting the message?
Yeah, I know. We'll see if he listens.
Yeah.
And just like living the life that I want to live at a slower pace. Like, again, I loved my job up at the treatment facility, but it was very fast paced there.
Yeah.
And now I get to kind of create my own schedule, spend the time that I want to spend it with myself or with my people.
Yeah.
And that's what I want. That's what my future hopefully will hold for me, is that I've got a business where I'm helping people that want to get help, or maybe they don't want to get help, but I can still be that person that they can reach out to.
Yeah.
And then I'm living contently the things that are going on with my life.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's so good. All right. If you had a megaphone that could reach everybody in the world, what's your message to them?
Can I say respect all people?
I was going to say, I have a feeling I know where this one's going. Yes, you can absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Respect all people.
Yeah. Respect people, regardless if you know or don't know what their beliefs or why they made a decision or not. Be curious, but respect them. They're still human, and we all make mistakes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
All right. Adriana, this has been a blast. Thank you for coming on.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
It has been a lot of fun.
All right. Thanks, everybody.